Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink with some really fun, really easy rainbow shaped cards using the Simon Says Stamp rainbow card wafer dies that I just showed in their Let's Connect release. So the die set has the actual shaped card base, and then it has a separate wafer die that die cuts all of the like rainbow stripes as well as the clouds. So I was originally going to do this in like solid color cardstock, maybe do some glitter cardstock. And then I remembered I have a whole bunch of pieces of this honeybee over the rainbow, of course, pattern paper. So I started die cutting it, and then I realized while I'm doing all this die cutting of all these pieces of pattern paper, I'm going to have tons of extras. So instead of making just one card, I'm going to have enough pieces just from the pattern paper to do 5. So that's what I did. And then I'm doing a little extra here. Not only did I die cut the pattern paper, I also die cut the rainbow pieces from just heavyweight white cardstock and then adhering them together. And the reason I did this is it just gives a little bit extra weight and dimension to the pattern paper pieces. It does make a difference. If I'd had the time, I could have done the card with just the pattern paper just to show, but adding that bit of cardstock behind it, it just pops up that little extra bit, kind of gives everything that bit of a finished look. So after I did all my die cutting, this is where I'm showing on camera, I did all my die cutting off camera, and then on camera here, I just started adhering everything. So I end up with a ton of all these pieces, but in the end, they're enough to make 5 cards. So I adhered all the pattern paper to the white cardstock die cut just using Simon's Craft Tacky glue, just really quick and easy. And then it was super easy to just assemble all the actual rainbow pieces because I just alternated the stripes so that I use every single one of them to make 5 finished cards. And then the card bases I die cut with the large die in the set, and I die cut that from Simon's Fog cardstock. It's just the perfect like lightest neutral gray, and that would just also, I chose the gray because it lets the white cardstock I'm going to use for the clouds just kind of pop a little bit more. And then for the little sun that comes in the die set, I die cut that from just some Lawn Fawn sticky note cardstock. That's just the shade of yellow. And then I used the yellow pattern paper from the same pack and die cut the centers with that, and then left the actual little like sunray piece as the yellow cardstock just to make it pop a little bit more. And then all it was a matter of adhering everything to each of these card bases. So I would just line up all the little stripes, get the clouds adhered into place. So I had everything like lined up because they all fit into each other since it was one wafer die. So adhered the clouds, and then I would adhere all the stripes also using that Craft Tacky glue. And then before I get to any other assembling, I'm going to work on the sentiments. But I did the one card first just to make sure the ideas and everything that were going in my head making this was actually working. So I just went along and I would start with the outside rainbow, and then everything just pieces together with this wafer die set. Everything just pieces together like a puzzle because it's one wafer die. So all these little pieces just fit in no problem. So I just worked my way from basically the outside in. And then I'd also die cut extra little clouds because there's separate cloud wafer dies in the set as well. And then there's also the heart wafer die, which I'm going to use on the inside of the card, but I'll get to that later on in the video. So once I've got everything adhered, before I actually adhere the sun and bump up the clouds a little bit, I want to do the sentiments. And I chose the Thinking of You sentiment strips from Simon. These are the ones that are pre-printed onto heavyweight white cardstock. So I'm using my Fiskars trimmer for this. 99% of the time now I just use my Holtz guillotine trimmers. But with these sentiment strips, I prefer my good old Fiskars paper trimmer because it has the wire down right where the cut line is. So I can see exactly where I'm cutting, which is really nice with these because then I know I've got things centered, etc. So I can just quickly trim them down, and I trim down a whole bunch of them for all these cards because I want one on the outside and one on the inside. And then with all of them, because these are printed this way with the black on white, I've shown this in other videos as well, I like to edge all that white cardstock with a black marker. It just finishes it off and kind of makes everything look a lot cleaner. So I just use my Memento Tuxedo black marker, just the side of the felt tip, and I just run it along that edge to completely cover that exposed white cardstock. And that, again, it's just that finishing, that little finishing touch, you know? So I did that with all the little sentiment pieces, all the ones I used on all the other cards, which I'll just show all the other cards at the end. There was no point showing me assembling all of these because it's just kind of the mass production method. I kind of did the same thing in each time with all of them. So for the clouds, I had die cut the extras from more heavyweight white cardstock. Again, just gives it that little extra dimension. The little sun pieces, I cut them down a bit so I could kind of tuck it into the little cloud area right here. So adhered that down with the craft tacky glue as well. And then I'm going to adhere another cloud right over it just to kind of give it that little extra something. And then once that's adhered in place, I can adhere one of the sentiment strips. So kind of tuck that. Some of them I kind of tucked in, some of them I popped above. It just depended on which sentiment strip I was using. But I just paired a bunch of different ones from this pack, and as always, still have tons left over. So adhered that into place, and then on the inside of the card, I had die cut the red pattern paper from the pack with the little heart wafer die from the rainbow card set. So adhered that, and then adhered a sentiment strip. And as always, you could end here, but I wanted to add a bit of bling. So to do that, I have some loose glitter, which I haven't worked with in forever. But I have this Studio Katia loose glitter. I have chunky glitter and just the sparkle, like the more fine glitter. And they're gorgeous, and I thought they'd be perfect for these clouds. So to adhere them, you could use almost any liquid adhesive, but with stuff like this, I really like using something like this is Crystal Glaze from Tonic. Ranger Glossy Accents will work really well too. The Crystal Glaze is a thinner consistency, more liquidy than Ranger's Glossy Accents, so it's just personal preference. But I use this, and the nice thing is with this, you don't have to worry about the air bubbles or anything. You just got to get it on there. So I just coated each of the clouds with this. And then I am scooping up some of the chunky glitter. I'm just using my little Tonic spoon here. And then with the finer glitter, I'm just taking like pinches of it and sprinkling it on. And with this very first one, I applied too much Crystal Glaze to the one cloud, so it's like glopping off, but I fixed it. It's all good. But I just kept following this process with all the cards. And I'm working over coffee filters just to keep the mess as minimized as possible because it is loose glitter. But also because with the amount of chunky glitter I'm using, I'm going to funnel this back into the container because I'm not going to waste any of this glitter. So I did the process for all of them, set everything aside to dry, and then I can funnel all that glitter right back into the container. The coffee filters kind of, like I said, keep the mess as minimal as possible. And then to clean up the little tiny last bit left over, you could use Swiffer cloths. We've shown that in videos in the past. I'll use that depending on what I'm working on, but honestly, I just use my surface sweep. I just sweep that last little bit up and it's good to go. And then I also use it again. I save the coffee filters and everything for when everything is completely dry. And then I brush over the cards really, really well with my big surface sweep brush. And that brushes off any of the excess that was just, you know, static clinging to the pattern paper and the cardstock and whatnot. So that just removes any of the excess so that the only glitter on these cards is completely contained in that Crystal Glaze adhesive. And then they're good to go. And they've got that just chunky, glittery look that love. So that's it for the video for now. As always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a supply list in the description box below, as well as picture links on my blog. That will also be linked directly below the video, so you can check that out if you're interested in anything I used. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing, thumbs upping, commenting, all of it. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next video. Bye!